Welcome back to Zoom Out Podcast. My name's Tim Niemeyer. Today I have the pleasure of having Flo Montoya on the podcast. Flo, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me here.
For anybody new to Bitcoin, you might know Flo from Love is Bitcoin, Panties for Bitcoin. And there's a lot more to her. And as I was researching for this, I found that you're an artist, first and foremost. And this goes back like throughout your years coming up. So I'd like to actually start there with you. Before Bitcoin, before everything that we all know you for now, tell us about your backstory a little bit. Growing up, did you always want to be an artist? Were you always an artist growing up?
Yeah, kind of. I was always very good with like drawing and stuff like that. Maybe many children are, but I was encouraged by my parents. Like I was always told that I was good for that, so I kept practicing. And I always pictured myself, if not an artist, then something related. Like maybe I can be a designer, maybe I can be, I don't know, something like that. And at some point I decided, no, I want to be an artist. And I always had like the support of my parents, even though my dad did try to get me to do architecture or something like that. But they were always supporting me. And I actually studied arts after school in a classical art academy for like 3 years. So I was very interested in like the technique and the materials and all of that. And later I did get to the university and studied art there, where it's very cool because now I feel like I have these two visions of it, that I have, like I can choose whatever I feel comfortable from both. And from the university I loved art history, and for example the focus in why are you choosing this material, not just because you're good at drawing, but why for this piece do you want to draw it, or do you want to, I don't know, paint it, or do you want to do a sculpture or whatever. So yeah.
Well, I love that because, you know, art, it's expression. It's a form of expression. And I'm a music teacher by day. I'm a musician growing up throughout, so I get that. But there's a phrase, starving artist for a reason. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to make a living as an artist. So I assume you were doing a lot of things to, you know, keep going.
Yeah. I've always worked in stuff like whatever. Like I did. How do you say, like when you take food to a table in a restaurant? I forgot the word.
Waitress.
Yeah. I waitressed. I don't know. Helped sold apartments. Like everything. I different jobs growing up, and I think I was a Bitcoiner before I realized it, because I always had that mentality of like saving and of like maybe low time preference in a way. So maybe that's one of the reasons why Bitcoin wasn't that hard for me. And I think this also comes from, since I decided at a young age that I wanted to be an artist, I was always told that artists will starve, die of starvation. So I guess it was always in my mind to like prepare for this, like have a plan B, like you need to work and do other stuff. And even today, I mean, for about a year now, I think I quitted my normie job. I had a job in marketing. I don't know how I ended up there, but I realized I'm good with the social media and marketing stuff. And I quitted that job that was a good job, because it didn't leave me too much time to do my art. So the time I was working with them, even though it was like I was growing in this career, um, I was losing all the art. And I said, no, I need to find a Bitcoiner job related to Bitcoin, so that my mind is always focused in this thing that is interesting for me. And I need to get paid in Bitcoin, because I want to be like the most consistent that I can be, even though that it's troublesome sometimes. And but yeah, I do have to have other jobs, and that's how I found Love is Bitcoin and Panties for Bitcoin, and I have been very blessed because I have found very creative, nice people who also support my art and know that sometimes the times or like for example, I was in Bitcoin Atlantis, and this wasn't a problem with the companies. Like I did travel, and then I took a couple of days to travel with my family, and in a normal company that could be a problem, and I try, of course, not to take advantage of that. But
Right.
it's like a different relationship built on the same principles that we are all Bitcoiners.
Yeah, you get to. I see that you get to travel, and I'm a little jealous, but it's great, and you have that freedom because you're proving the work. You're getting done what you need to do. It's not so much a checkbox kind of thing like a lot of jobs today. It's just do this, do this, do this. Here's your break. Do this, and then you're done. So I can see how that freedom is something that all artists yearn for. Is just that freedom to kind of express themselves in different ways, have that freedom to go around. Speaking of traveling, jumping ahead, but I know you have a big party coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead too much,
Yes.
but
So the team of Love is Bitcoin, we have been working on Santorini halving party. So there are still some tickets available, and we have created like two options where you can have, for example, like the full package. So you would stay the 3 days that this lasts in the same hotel where all the activities or most of the activities will take place. So that's very cool because then you have like this. What we were envisioning was this after conference feeling. If you have been to a conference, you know that the after conference where you meet all the Bitcoiners, but in a very chilled, very cool place, then you get to talk more and go deeper into everyone's history and whatever. It's very, very nice.
but
So we try to
Santorini's
focus
in
on that.
Greece, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So, and the other ticket is like you go to all the activities, but then you have your own hotel. Both are great. And I'm actually FOMOing very hard because since I live in Chile, I'm actually like the character of Livy is always everywhere. But me, Flo, I'm not going to be able to be there. So I'm putting like all this work and helping the team and enjoying through them. Yeah, the
So
process.
you're telling me that was a photoshopped picture of you? I, I'm sorry, I kind of jumped ahead a lot. Let's back this up a bit.
Mhm.
So you're an artist, you're working other jobs so you can explore your passion, and you have a lot of those qualities that make it easy to transfer into Bitcoin. What actually did it for you to get you into Bitcoin? What was it?
Yeah.
When was this and what happened?
I think I have a special story there because I was actually orange pilled by my dad. So he was like the main orange pillar of the family. We are all very hardcore Bitcoiners. And by the time we used to live together in my parents' house. And well, my dad has always, like for many years, has worked for a German company. So we were used to this having to move money around to live, so because he got paid in euros. And in that process, he discovered Bitcoin, and he realized it was much easier to move the money around. It actually costs less. It was faster. You didn't need to talk to anyone to just do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, through that process of like actually valuing the use case, which is actually very weird too, because you regularly come to Bitcoin because number go up, and
Yeah.
then you realize like the whole world behind it. For us was like, okay, this thing is useful, and then like, nice surprise, number go up.
Well,
So that
you're
was.
you're saying Chile. Sorry. I assume inflation. I know a lot of places down there have rampant inflation. Are you subject to that as well?
Well, Chile had like very great years in a way. Maybe, I mean, comparing with the other countries like here in Latin America. Um, so it, we weren't that bad, I guess, in terms of inflation and stuff like that. Maybe there were other problems, but now it has increased a lot. I would say, like right before COVID, we had uh, we had like social uprising and protest and stuff like that, and that was very like really hardcore protest, and that changed a lot the course of things. Like, for example, the actual president we have now was, I think he is only president because of this protest, and that was really hard on the country. And then COVID started, with which you could argue that actually helped that government at the time, because the protests were getting like they were not stopping. Like, it was very violent and extreme, and people were very angry. And I think it's not well focused anger. And then, well, COVID came, so they started printing more money. And then after COVID, we still have, I think they still are printing a lot of money, like still trying to I don't know, solve the problems by printing more money.
And
So
that's
yeah, it's getting harder.
it's the short-term fix, and it makes it harder.
Mhm.
And the reason I asked that is because you said it was an easy sell for you because of the use case, and it seems like a lot of people in countries with, for example, massive rampant inflation, it's an easy sell for them. They see this number going
Mhm.
down and this number going up, and hey, I want to be on that. Um, so you got to have that pain. It's easier for people to find Bitcoin
Yeah.
if they're feeling the pain. Myself, in the middle of America, in a cornfield in the middle of America, we don't feel that pain as much. So
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well, actually, in Chile, I think one of the reasons why there is not that much Bitcoin adoption here might be because we weren't that much into this pain feeling. Like, I guess I understand what you're saying.
Hey y'all, are you need a Bitcoin? You looking for a way to safely and securely store your Bitcoin? Check out the Bitcoin Advisors. These Bitcoiners are professionals that will provide you peace of mind so you can sleep soundly at night knowing your Bitcoin is safe. Remember to tell them Zoom Out sent you.
Yeah, so you can, I think you can get to Bitcoin in generally when you are in a lot of like pain, like you're suffering, so you need to find an alternative. Or when you are like maybe in a privileged position where you are thinking about how do you invest, how do you get the better outcome for your investment and your money and your wealth and everything. We were like in the middle. We were like the middle class. Like, we don't have enough to think about investment, but we don't have that little so that we don't look for an alternative. That's my idea, at least personal idea. And also, well, other stuff, really weird stuff happened here in Chile. Like, Bitcoin got a really bad publicity, like more than in other places,
Really?
because at some point all banks actually sued. No, banks closed the accounts for the exchanges. So from one day to another, all exchanges in Chile didn't have a bank account. Like, it got just closed, and yeah, and they had to enter in a legal process, and they sued the banks. And luckily, while this lasted, the judge said that the banks had to reopen the accounts. So they only had it closed for like a month, but it was like really bad. Like, people were like, "This is absolutely a scam." Uh, like, the perception of people, and also this made it impossible for a new company, for a new exchange or something like that, to enter the country, because no bank would open an account if they're incurred
Right.
like fighting for the same thing. Mhm.
Well, I mean, not only that, but then for a month, like I'm just thinking like groceries, how that could lead to civil unrest if you have a system that can just shut off at will. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's got to be well.
and
There's a pain right there. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, when you know where to look, of course there is pain. But people took it as banks are the thing I believe in. These are trustworthy institutions, so this other stuff might be shady, And I think that was the perception of people, like most of this. And this happened a couple of years now, and this is a suit that's it's really weird. Like you see how these things develop. So now actually for the exchanges that were operating here, it wasn't that bad because they didn't get any competition. For adoption, I think it was really bad.
I can see that. Man, so you go through all that pain. You found Bitcoin, and it's interesting that you said that about your father, because my father actually got me into Bitcoin. It was more on the other end of that, where he was a farmer, and he traded options a lot just because you had to in corn and beans and all that. And so he was comfortable with going out on the risk curve. So he's like, hey, you need to look into cryptocurrencies. And we went down the whole shitcoiner route for a while, but then I steered us back to Bitcoin. He'll tell you otherwise, but it's interesting how the farther we go in Bitcoin's journey, in Bitcoin's life, the more you're going to find stories of people's parents instilling the values of Bitcoin into them. Like I'm doing that with my children right now. So you love to see that. I want to switch gears and ask you. So you're doing all this stuff. You find Bitcoin, and you're looking for a proper Bitcoin job. How did Love is Bitcoin come around? Was that George reaching out? Was that you reaching out to George?
That was it was pure destiny, coincidence, because I was like, no company is going to hire me. Like, I'm an artist. I have worked for other companies, but how can I prove that I know something when I don't even know that I know? It's like I have these huge imposter syndromes all over. I never had like a proper education in marketing or advertisement or stuff like that. I just got into it by working. So I was looking and just scrolling through my Twitter, and I found a tweet that George posted. I think it was from his personal account, and he said, "I'm done working with normies. I only want to work with Bitcoiners." And I wrote to him like, "Are you offering a job?" And he said like, it would be cool, but I don't need an artist right now, which is the regular response you might get. And I told him like, okay, but I have done this other stuff, and I have I can do social media, I can do this. And he was like, okay, I actually do need someone who helped me with the social media. And when we started, because I'm actually like, I don't post that many pictures of myself in my accounts. I almost only post like art stuff.
Right.
And so he was like, okay, but I need you to be public, and we need to give life to Livy, which is a character, because the previous girls, they didn't want to do it. Like, they didn't want to go public. And I thought about it. I was a bit from one side, I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to do this, and also like a bit how do you say, like a bit ashamed, like I don't know, like ashamed in the sense of like not of the job. I do believe any job is just a job, and you
Sure.
can do it, and you try to do it the best you can. Of showing myself, it was, and I thought, and he also told me like, Flo, if we do this, we will also get your art seen. And I thought that made a lot of sense to me, because I saw it at the moment I was talking to him, that I could learn so much from him and from the team in many ways. And I also realized that learning these skills, like putting yourself in front of a camera, like talking in maybe with other people, like doing this podcast, for example, for me, 1 year ago, I would have been so nervous, like talking in another language and blah blah blah. I thought these skills are really going to be helpful for me when it comes to showing my art. So we started from there, and luckily we had like a very good relationship. Like we understand each other very well.
He's an artist
And
too.
yeah, he's really really creative. Like he
Up
amazes
there.
me like every day, in many ways. Like because I'm learning, I'm not very good at the memes. I try to create the content. We create a lot of stuff, but so many of this funny stuff comes from the team, and particularly from George, like super funny creative guy. And yeah, I'm learning a lot.
Well,
It's been fun.
I have to say, just personally, I think you do a great job at it. It's not over the top. It's classy and it's funny, and I enjoy it. Definitely not a simp. I don't care what anybody says. Not no. You really do a great job with it, and I that actually is what, for lack of a better term, turned me on to Love is Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, there's this other magazine, because I started out writing for Bitcoin Magazine, and that's pretty much all there was for the longest time. And now you're seeing Bitcoin and everything else pop up. So I didn't know that you're getting to promote your art into this also. Is that right? You said?
Yeah, because I get a lot of help from the team. Like for example, when I was in Madeira, I was creating content for Love is Bitcoin and for Panties for Bitcoin, but they also helped me like share the content I create for my own art, and very helpful. Like for example, those articles, and I get a place to explain why am I choosing this or doing that, and also because, for example, when I was there, like people do recognize Livy. I think they get a surprise because Livy's personality is not similar to my personality. So they're like, "Ah, you're Livy. That's so weird." Okay, and and then I get to talk to them. I get to connect to people, and they start asking if they are interested in the art. I can show it to them. So I think I think it helps with that.
So to help, many of our listeners here are going to be more normies or noobs, in the early stage, high on the funnel. I want to help them understand, like, so you're an artist, you're into social media, but you're first and foremost a Bitcoiner. You wouldn't have this job if you weren't a Bitcoiner, if you didn't believe in Bitcoin. So one thing I love is just the phrase "love is Bitcoin." That's something that most people will just pass right over and not like actually dig into. Can you share with us if there's ever any talks, like you and George or you and the team, about where that name came from? Like how does that like align with your message?
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind sharing
I
any of
think
it?
we haven't ever talked about it that much.
What's it mean to you?
But but I do think there. Well, I know that there is a piece of history. Like when this project started with the magazine and all, it was supposed to be a dating site for Bitcoiners to find each other. So that was like the love part of it. And that didn't work out. But then the project kept evolving, and it turned into the magazine and kind of marketing agency. And for me personally, it's very cool because I was working on a piece before I started working with Love is Bitcoin. I was working on a piece that was called Bitcoin is Love. And that was pure coincidence. I was this piece, I had started it before, like I couldn't move forward in it because I was too deep into my normie job, and it was just waiting for me, and I quitted my job. I started drawing again this piece, and I found this job. It was super weird. And for me, well, Bitcoin is love for humanity. In many ways, if you give freedom back to someone, like if we understand fiat as slavery, what is more beautiful than freeing someone from that? What is more love, much pure love? But also when you see like small things, like for example the decentralization of the network, like Satoshi disappearing, not even taking a bit of profit, not moving the coins, that is love for humanity, like that is doing the things properly and right and perfectly and the best you can for others. And yeah, I think Bitcoin is very full of love.
Well, and I love that answer. And you started with a phrase that I think everybody in Bitcoin pretty much takes as as truth, but a lot of normies might not hear the phrase "fiat is slavery," and that might be too much. So, can you help me unpack that a little bit? Like when you say fiat is slavery, I know it. I kind of feel like, oh yeah, I jive. What's your definition of that? How do you come to that understanding?
Yeah. Well, how would you describe someone who has to work for someone else and gets paid in a paper that the other person is printing for free? I think it's like the basic definition of slavery. We had here in Chile in the past, I have compared this before, like, I don't know how this is called in English, but in like I don't know, 100 years ago or something like that. So there was a lot of mining minerals and stuff and charcoal or whatever here in Chile. And international companies came, and what they did, these minerals were not near a town. So what they did, they built a tiny town with everything you needed, and they called people and told them, hey, you want to work here? I will give you food, I will give you shelter, there will be a store, you can buy stuff. I won't pay you in Chilean peso, I will pay you in the company money. And that was allowed. People got there because people were really desperate, or I don't know. They were miners. They knew they had the skills, and they were offered this like very cool deal. Like, I can live there with my family. I will have a home. I will have everything covered, and I even get paid. Like, it sounds great. But then you could, with these coins that they get paid, they could only buy in this store that was the property of the same company, whatever they decided to put there at the whatever price they had there. It was awful. People had like it was, well, it was slavery. And I think fiat is just doing the same today in a very huge way with many stores and stuff like that. But it basically is the same.
And
So yeah.
the difference is that those people could opt in to that company's shitcoin, their money,
Mhm.
whereas everybody else today in the country you live in, you're forced to use the money that they say, like as you said, that can be printed at will, no proof of work. So yeah, it makes sense to me. It's a harsh statement, fiat is slavery, but there's actual meaning to that. And the more you dig in, the more you see that most people don't have that choice to opt out, or at least they don't see it. And that's something about Bitcoin, that love aspect, is that everybody has that right to do that. What's the phrase? If you love something, you got to set it free.
Yeah.
If the people in this, if the people in charge truly loved their population, they would let them choose the best money. So you would think, yeah, I'm choosing regardless. Sometimes you just
Yeah, we have Bitcoin. I mean, I was very pessimistic in like I might not have known these things. Like, I didn't thought of fiat as a slavery, but we didn't have an alternative. I mean, before Bitcoin. But I think I did have those pessimistic thoughts, like, why would I have a family? Why would I even marry? Why would I? What's the point to this? Why do I have to work? Like, and I see this in my generation, like, millennials do have those thoughts, and I think it's obvious because no one wants to be a slave. So you might not know it, like, in to put it in those exact words, but deep down you do feel it. And yeah, I'm so happy that we found Bitcoin and that it gave me hope again.
well, and you hear the phrase thrown around, Bitcoin fixes this. I kind of use a spin on that. Bitcoin incentivizes this. What you're talking about, I felt a lot of those same things. And since I found Bitcoin, like, I've never been like completely out of shape. I've been fairly, decent, in that terms, but like since I found Bitcoin, I find myself exercising. I want to be in better shape so I can be there for my family, so I can be there for my, community. I find myself reading more. Once I started teaching, I kind of like when I started having kids, I took a break from music. Now I'm back. I'm like fulfilling myself, the not just emotional but the spiritual side, so to speak. And I attribute a lot of that change in my behavior as an incentive for Bitcoin because it gives you that hope, gives you that future moving forward. So I want to go back. You mentioned Bitcoin is love. You're drawing. Is that available anywhere? Is there? Do you have a link or to?
I always try to sell the originals like as fast as I can, because otherwise it's like I don't want to have it in my hands. But it's just like it's weird because it's like you give a part of your soul, but also I feel like if I don't show it and then I don't put it out there, why am I doing this?
Right.
So I tried to go. This one I got auctioned in last year in Bitcoin Amsterdam, and I got to a private collection. But I do have a series of Giclée prints. These are like museum quality prints. That's new. I've just started working with a proof of ink. So these guys are called, I don't know if you know them. So they do very cool stuff, shirts and well, I don't know, many things. And now we started doing these Giclée prints, and I have three series with them. And we ship it directly worldwide to the house.
Is that available? Where are these things available?
You have to go to the site of Proof of Ink. That's proofofink.com, I think. But also in my I'll send it to you. And also you can find it in my own site. I have like everywhere. Like if you want a Giclée print, click here, and it just redirects you to the shop.
So, do you see yourself staying with Love is Bitcoin, Panties for Bitcoin? Do you see yourself? I assume you're going to have that. You're going to have the art. Is there anything else in the works for you?
No, I'm trying to give myself some time to work on my art for now. So sometimes I get really nervous and I'm like, no, I should have another job and mine more fiat or Bitcoin or whatever. But I'm trying to at least give myself this year to focus on the art and projects like that. And we'll see.
I love that because like Bitcoin gives you that freedom, right? It gives you that ability to go for quality, not quantity. You know what I mean? And I think that's amazing.
And also my art is really slow to make. Like I really like process, technique, handmade stuff. I'm not very technological, so I'm just like doing everything by hand. And it's like nowadays, like if you don't do something fast, if you don't have a new piece every day, if you don't show a lot in like social media, you disappear. And I've found in the Bitcoin community many people who value like the proof of work you put into some stuff. I know some things are amazing and are also done fast. Like it's not, but for me it takes a lot of process. Even from the start, like before I get to my hands into the artwork, I'm like thinking a lot about it, like deciding, like moving things.
Well, if you look back to like all of the great architecture, all of the great sculptures, all of the great paintings, like the Sistine Chapel, how long did that take? And it stood the test of time. And a lot of the stuff that you're talking about on the social media that you got to fill day in, day out. Once that's out of the Overton window, once that's out of the public eye, it's gone. It's in the ether and it's just out there. So I applaud you for that. Taking your time, building something that can stand the test of time, using your low time preference. That's really cool. Well,
I hope it.
I'm sure. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going on Proof of Ink right after we get off of this. is there anywhere that else that you want to throw a shout out to? We didn't really discuss Panties for Bitcoin. Tell us a
Panties
little
for
about
Bitcoin is an amazing family company. The family is from Argentina, but they live in Canada for some years now. They ship worldwide, and the focus is family, Bitcoin, and quality. I would say like those are the structure of the company. So it's really fun because they were always involved in the underwear business, and at some point in life they said like, okay, we have to work for Bitcoin, but what can we do? And they took the risk of doing what they know and what they like, what their where their expertise lays, and bringing that into the Bitcoin space. So I really like that. I think everyone, sometimes I feel like many people want to work for Bitcoin, but they're like, I don't have anything to give. And you do. You have your own expertise, you have your own experience, you have your knowledge. You don't have to be, I don't know, like, we do need a lot of coders, but not everyone must be a coder, you know? So I really love that about them. And yeah, super nice people, hardworking, and amazing quality products. I've never received like a bad review or a complaint or something like that.
I love that. I love that. Well, Flo, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up here. I want to thank you for sharing your story. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your art. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Libby on Twitter. You make me smile throughout the day, so thank you for putting yourself out there. And I'll put all these links in the show notes. But, Flo Montoya, thank you for joining me on Zoom Out.
Thank you so much for having me, too.